Well, hello everyone, and welcome to your Health in Your Hands, our Wednesday webinars. I hope everyone is having a great day so far. Today we're going to be talking about toxins. The title is Under Siege and how toxins affect our brains on the long term and on the short term. And we've been talking about the brain so much, and I think it's so important that we first of all, the reason why I talk about the brain so much is that that's my favorite body part, but also it's to, in my opinion, having gone through medical school and worked as a doctor all these years, if you can crack the code for the brain, if you can handle brain conditions, you can pretty much handle pretty much any other condition because everything is connected to the brain and the brain is connected to everything else. And quite frankly, the most challenging conditions are conditions that are related to the brain, by far the most challenging conditions. Um, we're going to be talking about dementia today. We'll also be talking about, dementia, specifically Alzheimer's dementia. And again, that's probably one of the most challenging conditions. Is one of the top is among the top five or six diseases that kill people here and around the world. It is the one condition, the one disease that cannot be cured, treated effectively, even prevented, or even slowed down, according to medical science. So it's still a head scratcher for many very, very smart people. Now, back home, with the foundation, we started with addressing kids with brain disorders, everything from autism and cerebral palsy and seizures and all that. Along the way, as is the case many times when you're having success in one area, along the way, we started having people coming to us who were not kids. Uh, they were kids of parents of older people who were already having these dementia because they saw the results we're having with young kids. So basically, we applied the same principles. And many of them, I didn't even see them personally, but we began to apply the same principles that we used on kids to help kids with brain disorders. We applied them to adults who had dementia or whatever this diagnosis was, and we saw results. I don't say we treated them, and I'm not going to say we cured them, but the kids, their 50, 60-year-old kids would come back and say, oh yeah, my mother isn't going out in the middle of the night and roaming around the streets. She's not saying things without understanding what she's saying. She's not rambling along anymore. She's remembering where she is. She's communicating with us. And so it showed that there was some level of improvement. So we were doing that even before I came over to the US. But since I've come, I've decided to go deeper into it and really study what the scientists are doing and seeing how they're approaching it. And I'm going to point out Dr. Dale Bredesen in a few minutes from now, how he is having significant success treating Alzheimer's disease patients. So yes, the whole myth that Alzheimer's disease, and I call it a myth because that's what it is. The myth that Alzheimer's disease cannot be treated or cured is just that. It's a myth. Simply because the powers that be, the scientists who are saying that is because they're looking at it and approaching it just from one angle. And I'm going to show you that. I hope we've been able to show that over the years, over the webinars we've been doing that it is simply not true. You can achieve significant improvement from dementias. And if you can with dementias, you can get results with things like mood disorders, PTSD, depression, cognitive decline, just maybe you're just not remembering words like you should, you can get significant improvement. So today we're going to talk about one aspect. What is causing people to eventually have dementia? And as I've mentioned in the past, sometimes it takes 10, 20, 30, even 40 years of continual damage to the brain before you begin to see the first signs and symptoms of dementia. That takes a long time. Many times we're not aware of these things, we're totally ignorant for the most part of these things that negatively affect our brain. So we're going to examine those. We're going to really kind of look into it and see what we can do to prevent that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. The problem with this thing is that you can't really show a full screen of me. I wish I could show a full screen of me on one side or half screen, and then the slides on the other end, so that you can see me and at the same time. But this is the way Zoom is for now, so we'll just have to work with it. All righty, let's see now. Okay, I hope you can see my screen, and I'm going to just kind of like this now. I need to remove what I'm seeing right now, which is the slides. Okay. Man, this is just not what I want it to be. Okay, well let's just manage with that. Okay. Okay, so the title again is Under Siege: The Toxins Around and Within Us and How They Affect Our Brains. Talking about Alzheimer's disease, the one disease condition that cannot be delayed. Why is this such a big problem? Everyone knows a survivor, a cancer survivor, everyone. I mean, we've kind of almost cracked the code when it comes to cancer. But when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, it's still a head scratcher. This is a normal brain on the left side. I hope that's the way it is. To my left is the normal brain. To my right is an Alzheimer's disease brain. And I think you can see the difference here. You can see that it is really, 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 really different. You can see the brain is all shriveled up, and these are what they call the ventricles, and these are all enlarged because the water and the fluids are taking up space where the brain cells used to take up. And I'm just going to point to here, this place called the hippocampus. For these are the cerebral cortex, the hippocampus, and what is known as the entorhinal cortex are the parts that are mostly affected in Alzheimer's, or where the Alzheimer's disease begins, and then it spreads across the board. The number one place it begins is the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is responsible for memory and cognition. So it helps to integrate memories. Let's kind of look at some of the numbers, because it helps you understand this. I mean, they're calling this an emergency, a national emergency. It's not. I just got a message from Jan. Let's see. Oh, okay. Jan says she can't hear me very well. Okay, I'm going to try and. Whew. Can you hear me okay? Okay, Jan says she can't hear me. Listen, I'm going to try and adjust that a little bit. Let's see now. I don't want to come too close to the camera and then have a problem with that. So let's see. What is going on here? I'm trying to get this out of the way. Okay. There's something wrong with this thing. Okay. Let's see me now. Okay, we'll come closer. All right, Jan, how's it now? Just send me a text message so I can because the screen, I'm minimizing the screen, so I won't be able to see myself at all. So let me know if it's better. I'm waiting for your text message. If it's not good, let me know. Better. Okay, so I moved closer. Okay, good. Let us continue. Okay. Back to the screen. Thank you, Jan. Okay, so about 6 million people are living with Alzheimer's disease. The only top 10 cause of death with no known cure. I've said that already. One thing that really concerns me, number 5 and number 6, 2 out of every 3 Alzheimer's disease patients are women. This is beyond the scope. We'll probably discuss that in a different talk. Blacks are almost twice as likely to have Alzheimer's disease as older whites. And if you've followed us over the years, over the months we've been doing these presentations, maybe, just maybe, you might know why that is so. One of the reasons, at least, why that is so. And I'm convinced one of the reasons is the low levels of vitamin D. Not the only reason, don't get me wrong, but it's one of the reasons. Okay, the Alzheimer's disease, nervous system, brain disorders are right here, number 4, after respiratory disorders, cancer, and heart disease, and strokes, and circulatory disorders. So it's number 4. People are saying it has probably leapfrogged to number 3, and probably is going to be number 2 or number 1 very, very soon. So it is a problem, a big, big problem. And one of the people who are really spearheading the race is a neurologist called Dale Bredesen. I've been reading his book, this first book on the left. He's improved it to, he's advanced it to number 2. So this is the one on the second. On the other side is the second book. And I'm just going to say a few of the things that he points out, and that has really helped me in my approach towards dementia and the treatment of it. It's helped me tweak a few things. Remember, This is a man who has access to the best of the best in terms of equipment, establishments, hospitals, technology, tests. Obviously, most patients would have insurance. None of those are available back in Nigeria, at least very little is available. So I always have to think in terms of what can work in the remote areas where there's nothing. And as I said before, we've gotten results even with the little knowledge I had. Now I've gotten so much more knowledge over the years of having studied under him and other people. So we know a lot more. But his point is this, why this picture is out in front of you. His point is this: the key thing that happens, this is the brain on the left. So this is what is known as a synapse. The nerve cells, there are nerves, billions and billions of nerve cells in the brain. And the way the brain works is that it's a signal has to pass from one neuron to the next. That's how you think, that's how you remember, that's how you move your fingers, that's how you move your toes to move around. There has to be a transmission of impulses from one nerve to the next. If that process is affected, then that part of the brain is not going to work like it should, and you will not be able to do some of the things that you otherwise would be able to do, such as remember things or speak for that matter. So it is super important that this synapse, that's a synapse is where two nerve cells come together and they pass they pass chemicals across what is known as the synaptic junction. They pass these chemicals. These are neurotransmitters. They send impulses or signals through neurotransmitters from one neuron to the next. That has to happen. What he is finding out is that Alzheimer's disease is a condition in which over time of insult, injury, over and over and over again, and I'm going to talk about some of these insults, this synapse breaks down, and it's almost like the brain, it's almost like maybe an autoimmune condition where there's like a critical mass is reached when enough breakdown has happened that the brain begins to turn on itself, begins to attack and actually be the one destroying the synapses. So think about this. The synapses are working fine, then they get bruised, they get battered, and then over time, it's like the brain now turns on itself and now begins to do the work of destroying itself, destroying its own synapses. And one of the things that he points to that is causing that turning on oneself, the brain turning on itself, is toxins. So that's why this topic is so important. Again, that's what happens. The normal brain, a good brain. A normal brain, a brain that has been affected by Alzheimer's disease. And like I said, it's a burden. Remember this quote we had last week: a man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Neither does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by the stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in his heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Basically, what we're saying is that things were normal before. This kid was growing normally and all that, and they started being influenced by bad influencers, bad people. They got him to steal a few candy bars, and then it progressed from candy bars to stealing jewelry, and it eventually progressed to armed robbery and so on and so forth. The same thing, something that the brain could handle at first, but it keep on giving it bad stuff, feeding you with the bad stuff, it eventually is going to cause damage. Okay, so again, that's another picture. So let's look at some of these things that make our brains weaker. It's not just things we eat, it's things we breathe in, it's things we put on our skins. It's simply from being in the atmosphere. And I used to do a lot of talks at senior living centers when I was in Tulsa, and I enjoyed them a lot because people would say they seem to grasp it a lot more because they had experienced it, they had lived through it. If you stay out in the rain long enough, you're going to get wet, whether it's a drizzle or a downpour. You stay out in the rain long enough, you will get wet. And we are in a toxic environment. Well, I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's only getting worse because of technology. So from the left side, you have radiation, what you use microwave, cell phones, computers. These are affecting your body, believe it or not. We know about biological agents, bacteria, viruses. Heavy metals are getting into our bodies through our foods and through our water and through how we breathe in. Of course, chemicals, a big problem in the agricultural industry, especially, but not just in the agricultural in the industry, in several other things as well. How do they come in? Where do they come from? They come from outside. Sometimes we produce those chemicals ourselves or those toxins ourselves, again, from outside radiation. So radiation is one of the things that come from outside. Let's start with the outside ones, because I think you're more familiar with what comes in from the outside, and then we're going to go to the what comes in from inside. So what we eat, that's the commonest way we get in terrible foods. I'm just going to run through these things, and then we're going to talk about what to do about it. So obviously, we know about taking too much sugar. Sugar is in everything now, especially if you're eating outside, you're going to get a lot of sugar. I know also we're going to talk about some of these things like gluten and these common allergens as well. They may not be toxic to everybody, but if you have a problem there, you're probably going to have issues and it's going to affect your brain. So alcohol, aspartame, gosh, the sugar-free drinks, gosh, man, they may actually be worse than the sugar themselves. And there were lots of tests that they were doing before they approved it, and there may have been some hanky-panky before they approved all these diet sodas. There may have been some hanky-panky. I'm not saying there was, don't quote me, but because once you see the research on what these things can do, especially to research animals like mice and guinea pigs, you know that this is not entirely a safe thing. Processed foods, everything, sugars and carbs. HFCS means high fructose corn syrup. High is very cheap, and it seems they're putting it in everything, and it's also very sweet as well, and it can cause problems in your brain. We know about preservatives, herbicides, pesticides. GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. Technology, in order to compete, in order to continue to feed the vast majority of people, we've cut down to using technology to quote unquote cut corners and mass produce foods that are sweet, that are filling, but are lacking more and more nutrients. Does that affect the brain? You bet it does. Say a few things about medications. From what I've seen, pretty much most common medications have some degree of toxicity to the brain. Remember, the brain is the most sensitive organ, the most delicate organ, the most complex and complicated organ in the known universe. It is, if there's the suspicion that something can harm your body, it's going to harm the brain. So you know that when you're putting drugs in, of course, you need the drugs maybe to control hypertension or to control, I don't know, blood sugar and all that. So I'm not saying you're going to stop taking the drugs, but you have to know that the drugs are also affecting your brain. And they can cause not just neurological problems like brain problems. You can also cause things like depression. They can lead to depression. I remember I have patients who they became autistic when they were kids as a result of heavy dose antibiotics being given to them, maybe for an ear infection. And the doctor didn't know any better. They just kept on giving them the antibiotics, and eventually that caused them to become autistic. Directly and indirectly, the antibiotics can affect the brain, but they can affect the gut microbiome. They kill the good bacteria, and the good bacteria, like we said, is super important for brain development, especially if you're a kid. I got to say that statins. So statins are among the top 3 most successful drugs on the planet. Highest revenue from these statins. They are given to help to lower cholesterol, and maybe whether they do or not effectively, that's not what we're here to discuss. We do know that if you're taking statins, you are depleting your body of a very important nutrient called CoQ10. CoQ10 is essential for energy development in the cells. The mitochondria in the cells use CoQ10 to generate energy for your cells. Statins deplete your cells of that CoQ10. And they've shown studies where this depletion causes brain fog, causes brain problems, causes problems in the muscles, causes problems in the heart, causes everything to get weaker because energy is lacking as a result of the CoQ10 depletion. So if you are taking a statin, if anyone you know is taking a statin, you've got to take CoQ10 along with the statin. That's another discussion for another time, but it's super important that you understand this. If you're taking antibiotics, you should take probiotics as well, so that as they are destroying the bad bacteria and the good bacteria, you are replenishing with the good bacteria. There's some thoughts about cough medications can kind of cause some kind of drowsiness in the brain. All right, so like I said, I'm just kind of running through the things that you take in, the toxins. So I think I'm kind of like giving an overview. I mean, if you're living in this world and you're working, you're going out to work and all that, it's really hard to avoid all these toxins. So it's just for you to know so that you can know what to do to counter it. All right, drugs coming in through the respiratory tract. That means things that you're breathing in through your nose or through your mouth. So toxins is what I wanted to say, excuse me. So drugs, everything from asthma medications. We can't escape it. In fact, they're saying that people who stay at home all the time and don't go out, well, you're using conventional cleaning agents to clean the house. The chemicals in all these agents, whether in your laundry soap or whatever it is, you are inhaling it, and it is a toxin. Smoking, whether directly or indirectly, secondhand smoke, domestic pollution. I've said that. I heard a statistic from a friend, and they said that over 50% of all homes, to some degree, have mold in them, and mold is from fungi, and these fungi produce what are known as mycotoxins, fungal toxins, fungal toxins, and of course that can affect the brain long term. Cleaning agents, if you've had a flood, water damage from a flood, you're going to be exposed to some, and you're living in the same home, you haven't cleared up that water. Even if you have, there might be some mold accumulation in that area. So that's going to affect you. Natural disasters. We know, we've heard about Ukraine, all those bombing. Those people are going to be having their lungs full of all this ash and debris that they're just breathing in. They can't escape it. So it's really unfortunate. They're breathing in a lot of stuff. It's going to affect their lungs. It's going to affect their brain as well. Same thing with fire damage. Through the skin, not obviously I don't have to explain that too much, where women are putting on makeup, men are putting on aftershave. Women tend to put a lot more toxins on their bodies. And the thing with ladies too, I hope you can still say ladies or women. All right. The thing with women is that part of especially if you're still menstruating, if you're still going through your cycles, your hormones are in a state of flux, right? So every month there's a cycle. So there's this hormonal flux, estrogen, progesterone are all flowing. These toxins, whether in the makeup or the hair or the deodorant and the antiperspirants, can actually affect that hormonal balance. So it makes sense to also take something that will help to ensure your balance, because if you're putting on makeup, unless it's super organic and it's pure in its purest form, you are taking in toxins as well. We got to talk about radiation too. I posted something on Facebook a few years back, and I think it's been deleted. I shared it. Well, actually, I shared it with other people, and everybody's commented. They're now finding out that cell phones can cause brain cancer over a period of time, and it's not too much of a stretch. If you keep putting a cell phone, that radiation, and these cell phones are becoming more and more powerful. They're going to be transmitting a lot of radiation. That's why you don't want to start giving a child below the age of 10 a cell phone to use, because their brains are so much thinner, and therefore the radiation is going to get into their brains a lot more. People can still argue about it causing brain cancer or any other kind of cancer. They cannot argue about that causing cell phones or radiation causing testicular a drop in sperm counts. That has been established over and over again. So it's really is causing a drop in testosterone and sperm count, especially if you're putting your cell phone in your pocket all the time. All right, cell towers. I used to work in my earlier life. I started in radiation oncology. So we were treating cancer patients using radiation. And I remember a couple of times have had to go into the radiation room to take care of the patients when when you're not supposed to. You're supposed to. I mean, I had a protective equipment, but who was I kidding? I know that I probably was bathed in some radiation by the during that time. Hopefully, it's all out of my system. But radiation is a fact. I mean, we don't know. We're walking through buildings downtown. We're walking. I mean, there's a lot of radiation everywhere. You can be sure of that. All right, let's talk about toxins from within, the toxins that we produce inside our bodies. And like I've mentioned before, the mere living, the mere process of living in this world, you're going to be toxic to yourself because you're going to burn up fuel, glucose or ketones or whatever. You're going to burn up the food. You're going to produce waste products. That is a fact of life. You're going to produce toxins in your body. When you're younger, you're producing what are known as antioxidants and other chemicals to neutralize the toxins, kind of the way the car will has an exhaust pipe to push out those toxins that it produces as a result of burning up of fuel. You produce antioxidants and other chemicals that can help to neutralize it. Most of the chemicals you're going to get to neutralize these toxins are going to have to come from food or supplements. And as we know, the older you get, the less you are able to produce these neutralizing chemicals. I know, aging sucks. Can I say that? I don't know. Aging. But thankfully, there are things that you can do in this day and age to neutralize it and to catch up. I'm so excited about the discoveries that are coming up. This is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time to live. Okay, so toxins from within. If we're talking about the brain, so we talk about, so the first one is the free radicals or the oxidants that we produce as a result of burning up fuel. Homocysteine is another chemical that they are beginning to find out that is produced a lot, again, from processes in the body, but it has been shown to cause heart disease and it's been shown to cause brain damage. B vitamins, it happens a lot in people who are deficient in B vitamins. That's why it's so important to, in addition to whatever you're taking, you want to take B vitamins as well. Stress is a factor too that produces cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that is meant to help you get up and go. It's produced mostly in the morning so you can get up from bed and get moving. But it's also produced when you're under stress. And if it's at chronically high levels in your body, like you're stressed, maybe you're having issues with your spouse, you don't like your job, your kids are giving you problems, you're thinking about it all the time. And I put strain there to say maybe you're just lonely, enjoying your life. There's scientific proof that your cortisol levels are high. And cortisol does high cortisol over a period of time does several bad things to your body, especially to your brain, especially to the part of the brain that deals with memory. Yes, I'm talking about the hippocampus that we showed earlier on. So cortisol actually fries up the cells in the hippocampus that are responsible for memory. So you don't want to stay stressed. You want to ensure that your stress levels are low, your cortisol levels are low, because it's going to cause damage to your brain. Bad bugs, if you've had Lyme disease, syphilis, you've had meningitis before, some of these things tend to linger and they can have infections. But it's not just the bugs themselves. It's not just the bad bugs that come in from the outside, like Lyme disease. There's what is known as an overgrowth. If you're stressed all the time, it affects. We've talked about the microbiome before. We talked about that great secret of life, how the bugs in your gut influence your mental health, influence your feelings of your well-being, feelings of well-being, or feelings of stress and depression. The bugs in your guts can influence all those. So if you have good bugs and you've got diversity, the bugs are working in balance with each other, you're more likely going to have a healthy mindset and you're going to choose good foods. If you have an overabundance of the bad bugs, and again, that comes from eating bad food. It comes from being stressed all the time, just living an unhealthy lifestyle. The bad bugs tend to gain the ascendancy. So so when these bad bugs gain the ascendancy, they produce chemicals or metabolites. And I've heard from scientists that over 50% of the metabolites in your blood actually come from the bugs in your gut. Think about that. 50% of the chemicals that we measure, that scientists measure, don't come from our cells themselves metabolizing stuff. It comes from the bugs metabolizing stuff and producing those chemicals. That is mind-boggling, but that is a scientific fact. Very, very interesting thing. So if you have a preponderance of bad bugs, it's going to lead to a preponderance of bad chemicals. And where are those chemicals going to? They're going to the brain. They're going to affect the brain and affect its functioning, giving you a bad mood, amongst other things. If you have a bad mood for long enough, remember what we said at the beginning, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, having those bad chemicals affecting your brain, eventually it's going to shut down your brain, shut down the healing processes in your brain, and make your brain go rogue, as in turn against you, and therefore starts breaking down. Your brain starts basically eating up itself. I got to talk about, okay, if you've had depression, like I said, for a period of time, or other mental health conditions, it sets you up for dementia in the future. Number 6, partially digested foods. We're finding out, I found that out from autism, but if you are not digesting certain foods in time, or if you have intolerances, the case in point is gluten. I probably should talk about that. So I'm going to show you the next slide, but toxins in the mouth. We now know, there's a book I have, it's somewhere. So it's a book that talks about, this is by a cardiologist and a lawyer. Because of what he was seen as a cardiologist, he went into law school to try and fight the establishment to say, listen, you've got to start looking at these things. And one of the things he points out is that our dentition, there's a lot of gum disease, things happening in our mouths that are causing problems in our brains and in our cardiovascular system and everywhere else. And if you don't take care, have good dental hygiene, it's going to cause brain problems in the future, especially with gum disease. And especially if you've had fillings that have mercury or silver fillings in them. They find out that the more you chew, as you're chewing, as you're putting pressure on those fillings, it's releasing tiny amounts of those chemicals into your bloodstream. And again, it gets to your brain. And his name is Dr. Thomas Levy, Levy. And he's been talking about it for years. It's called, should I go? Should I not go? Hang on, let's tell you what. I'm gonna have to just kind of like do mute my audio, stop video. Okay, so I'm gonna give me a second. Let me check this out. All right, I'm back. Hope you can see me. Okay, cool. All right, so this is a book. It's called The Hidden Epidemic. And it says by Dr. Thomas Levy. He's an MD and JD, which means he's a lawyer as well. He says silent oral infections cause most heart attacks, and breast cancers. Silent oral infections cause most heart attacks and breast cancers. Now that might be maybe it could be an exaggeration, but I got to tell you, you can't overlook that. This guy is a smart guy. It's a cardiologist as well, so I guess he probably should know what he's talking about. So you got to remember that if you got to have a good integrative dentist look at your teeth and make sure that you're not seeding a lot of bad stuff into your blood system. So we talked about the microbiome, so the bugs are in your digestive system, mostly in the colon, right? I mean, this colon that we think is just for crap, excuse me, for stuff. This probably might be one of the most important parts of your body. Okay, so I mentioned some intolerances. I mentioned so gluten. If you're gluten intolerant, um, it means you cannot digest certain proteins. Same thing with casein, same thing with soy. Some people are lactose intolerant. Sometimes there are other food things that are added to food that shouldn't be there. They're finding out that if you lack the enzymes, and that's really what happens if you're not able to digest these things. If you lack certain enzymes to help you digest them, it means that you're not able to digest them fully. And that partial digestion of these foods, let's say you're supposed to digest it in 4 stages and you just digest to 2 stages. So it's like partially digested. That can be more dangerous than you not digesting at all, because they find out the body does some chemical processes and adds stuff to that partially digested food, causing it to have some kind of morphine, that pain reliever-like properties. It gets to the brain and it causes things like brain fog, or even causes inflammation in the brain. And other chemicals. And there's this book by a neurologist who has written, it's called Grain, Brain. It says this: the surprising truth about wheat, carbs, and sugar, your brain's silent killers. These things, and he says a lot about it, so you might want to read it. And he says that just these nutrients or these foods, really can't call them nutrients, can cause a lot of damage to the brain over a period of time. Remember, what we're looking at are the things that weaken your brain over time and make it more susceptible to the disease called Alzheimer's disease. Once there's a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, which is the most fatal of the different kinds of disease, you have about, they say on average, 7 to 9 years before the person dies, and it's a progressive deterioration. The person loses memory, then after memory, sometimes speech is affected, sometimes they're unable to take care of themselves, sometimes they're unable to walk. And it's just a gradual progression, which is very, very, very disturbing and distressing to the caregivers. In fact, I heard the statistic that about 42% of caregivers die early because of the stress and the strain of having to take care of people with that condition. So it's super important that we know how to counteract this procession. Most of us, yours truly included, have had brain issues. Maybe you don't know about it. Maybe you do. I've had a concussion when I was in high school. I was in the military, so I've had all kinds of trauma to my brain. So I am not waiting to see if that's what happened 20, 30 years ago is going to have an effect later on in my life. So I'm doing what I can. I'm actually taking a drink now that helps. It has B vitamins and a lot of other stuff in it. It helps my cardiovascular system. So whether or not you feel anything, that's not the point. That is not the point. You've got to do the common sense, sensible thing of taking things in your body that will specifically help to strengthen your brain at whatever level you can. You cannot afford not to. So in summary, it depends on what kind of toxin you're exposed to. I mean, most of these things I've talked about are toxins that we generally are exposed to. Some people may have it worse in certain areas, like if you're a dental hygienist and you're constantly mixing up those chemicals that they put on their gums to take molds and impressions, you're probably inhaling a lot of bad stuff. If you're a miner, you're working in the coal mines, for instance, I guess those still exist. You're inhaling a lot of bad stuff from the rocks that you're breaking down. If you're in construction, you're inhaling a lot of bad stuff. So it all depends on what you're dealing with. This is going to be affecting your brain. What Dr. Bill Bredesen is saying is that over a period of time, that constant injury, that constant exposure to toxins will eventually make the brain turn on itself I use the word it goes rogue, or the expression it goes rogue. It turns itself and it starts breaking down the neurons on its own, causing your brain to shrink and to shrivel up. So think about it like this: over a certain period of time, it's an external force that is causing the problem. After a certain point, when you get to critical mass, the thing switches and it becomes your brain causing the destruction. So remember this picture. This is what I term the central governing system. The nervous system, the endocrine system, and the immune system, they control the other 9 or 10 other systems. The best thing you can do, and we're going to talk about what you need to do to protect yourself and what you need to do to strengthen yourself. Like I said in the past, it's not just about the brain. You can also strengthen if you strengthen your endocrine system, it also strengthens the brain. You can strengthen your immune system, it also strengthens your brain. Over, I guess, close to 20% of the actual cells in the brain are actually immune cells. So that can help as well. What do you do? Like I said, you don't have to go do a test to know whether or not your brain is working like it should. Just take it from me. Your brain, you live in this world for over 30 years, your brain has taken hits. So war is already upon you. Like I don't know if you've seen the movie, the blockbuster, the Lord of the Rings. Is it Lord of the Rings now? Or the Fellowship of the Ring? Yeah, that whole trilogy, right? The part 2 of the trilogy where the star went to another king and says, "You guys need to protect yourselves. These people are coming to attack you," and the king is like, "No. I don't want to provoke the other king. Well, I'm not going to risk war. I'm not going to risk killing my people dying. I'm not going to risk war." And the star of the movie says, "Too late. War is already upon you. War is already upon us." You've lived in this world for more than 30 years, and this is for those of you watching this recording. I know everybody on this call currently is over 30 years, including yours truly. Now, for those watching, if you've lived long enough, I'm being generous, 20 years really, you've been exposed to, whether or not you've had a pristine life, you've been exposed to stuff. So you need to start protecting your brains. So what are we going to do to strengthen our brains? You want to prevent, limit exposure. Now that you know, you need to start watching your life closely and what you allow and permit to get into your body. And of course, I mentioned dental hygienists, minus, of course, obviously you can't quit your jobs if that's the only job you have, but you need to be aware that could be a problem, and you need to take the next step, which is you need to take a supplement. I don't really trust a balanced diet anymore, folks. Yes, it's good to eat fruits and vegetables, and I do that. But even the fruits and vegetables aren't what they used to be. So eat as many fruits and vegetables as you can. You need to take, in addition to that, supplements. That's just me, and I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but anyway. You want to be able to remove, and this is key, that's why I put it in capital letters. You want to be able to take things that will remove toxins. I'm not talking about neutralizing, I'm not talking about counteracting them. You want to be able to take something that will remove it from the blood, remove it from the brain, and have you get rid of it, get outside your body. That is the gold standard there. Something that removes these toxins on a constant basis. Removes this in a safe way, removes them so your body doesn't have to deal with them at all. And of course, you want to be able to repair if obviously you're dealing with brain fog and it's due to toxins that you can identify. Once you've started removing the stuff, it's now important to take supplements that will help to repair it. So let's talk about some of the things that you need to do. Neutralize. You got most of these neutralizers or antioxidants are going to come from leafy greens, different colors of plants and fruits and veggies. That's why I put the word rainbow there. Now, one of the key things they put these plants provide are antioxidants. So to neutralize free radicals, those chemicals, those toxins that are produced in your body. They use antioxidants, and there are different kinds of antioxidants. The most important one that scientists talk about is glutathione that your body produces, and it's an intracellular antioxidant. It's produced in the cells, not outside the cells, but produced in the cells. And that's where your protection, that's where the most protection is needed, inside the cells, because that's where the sensitive, that's where your nucleus is, that's where your DNA is, that's where your mitochondria is. So you need antioxidants that works from within. So supplements that can help to boost glutathione production. If you have the right kind of probiotics, that helps as well. Remember, the probiotics are engaged in pretty much every aspect of our lives, from metabolism to brain function to digestive function. They also help when it comes to neutralization of toxins. So it's very important. And here's the big part. I talk about removing a lot because, again, this comes from my experience working with kids with brain damage and kids with autism. And everything I talk about, I know I've said this before, but everything I talk about, these are things that we found out working with kids, and basically we apply them to adults. So, and the good thing about that is that if whatever we found has worked and has been safe with children as young as 2 years of age, and even younger, these things have worked so well with them. So when we just apply them to adults, we just increase the dose, but they work just as well, even better. Well, no, I can't say better because everything works better in kids, but in adults they work as well. Then they work, and they are safe. So zeolites. Let me start with fiber. Fiber too is important. I've talked about fiber before. What fiber does is that in the gut, it helps to trap toxins. So it keeps, and even sugar as well. It helps to prevent you from absorbing the sugar, or it reduces the rapid rate at which people absorb sugar and glucose from the gut. So therefore, it keeps blood sugar levels, tries to keep blood sugar levels low, but it also does that with toxins as well to some degree. But the big one are the zeolites. Zeolites are they're like volcanic ash. They are made from volcanic ash. They're like minerals, which are natural and very safe. And what they do is that they're like very tiny cages, magnetic cages, that they kind of like draw and attract heavy metals like mercury, leads, and then toxins like the mold toxins and other chemicals. They absorb them into themselves and they trap them. And then they stay in the blood until they get to the kidneys, where the kidneys just get rid of them through your urine. Very safe. In fact, you can do tests in which you do a urine test. They test the heavy metals, and then you take the zeolites, and then you do another urine test, and they see that after they've taken the zeolites, you have much higher levels of heavy metals, mercury, leads, cadmium, arsenic, which is in everybody. But they show it has much higher levels, and even other chemicals as well, simply from taking zeolites. I think this is one of the best things you can do. I have a friend who she introduced me to it. She had all her daughters when they were pregnant, she would have them take the zeolites, and their kids. She compared. Okay, one daughter did not take it, her other daughter did, and the kids from her daughter who took it were so much healthier, so much more emotionally stable, and more submissive to their parents than the kids who did not, or whose mother did not take zeolites when she was pregnant. It's very, very interesting. All right, we're almost out of time. A word on frequencies. Where in recent times, I went for a conference, and where I've always known about certain kinds of frequencies that can, target cancer cells or can improve brain function and all that. So there are certain technologies now producing frequencies. So they look at what is a normal frequency for the brain or normal frequency for the heart, and they found a way. Some people have found a way to reproduce that frequency of what is normal and what is healthy, and then trap that frequency in. Wait for it. Water, ordinary water, and trap that frequency in a bottle of water, and then use it, and provide that to patients and individuals to use. And I'm hearing all kinds of amazing stories. I think Jan, I just heard some more from Jan today. So that could be something that could be a really, really, really good tool in our arsenal. So that's super. All right, so I think we've come to the end conclusion. So again, you remember, you once it's already happening. War is already upon us. There's already damage being happening to our brains. I forgot to mention sleep. Sleep is another way by which we get rid of our toxins. We have toxins in our brain. A good night's sleep enables your brain to release those toxins. In fact, they say that our brains shrink by up to 40%, and in a bid to get rid of all the fluids, for the fluids to get rid of all the toxins. So if you don't have a good enough sleep, I'm glad I remember this. If you don't have a good enough sleep or a good quality sleep, and that's like 7. So it's both quality and quantity. You got to have about 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and you've got to have the good REM, what is known as deep REM sleep. It's when you're having that good deep REM sleep that your body begins to, or your brain begins to detoxify itself. And so you need to do that. If you're not getting enough sleep, let's say you've slept 5 hours tonight, then you know you need to step up on your supplements. Don't wait. Don't say, well, I'll make up for it tomorrow. No. If for any reason you are not able to get enough sleep, you've got to take the supplements. And of course, I talk about vitamin D, vitamin C, and then the other supplements that help with brain function as well. So that said, I'm going to just stop the share and then open it up, and then we'll see who else is on. Okay, we had a few people join us. Well, let me unmute. Okay, so Jen, are you there? Okay, so do we want to unmute everybody? Okay, allow participants to unmute themselves. Yes, okay, good. So you can unmute yourselves now, Jan. Okay. I can hear you.
It said the host was the only one that could unmute us.
Okay.
And I think you're the host, so.
Thank you.
Welcome, Susan.
It's always good to have some control from time to time, right? It's good to be the man in charge.
Oh, boy. You were talking about that deep sleep. I've been going into deep sleep with this water, and I'm dreaming in Technicolor, and I dreamt about you and Greg Ross, and we were all dancing. And you were in Technicolor.
Wow.
The funny part.
I am colored, so I guess that's easy.
Yeah, you're different, a little darker than me. All right, welcome everyone. And Leslie, I see you're not unmuted, and Peggy is not unmuted. Welcome, Peggy. I think it's Peggy. I can't quite see. I haven't got my new lenses.
Yeah, Peggy's there. She's yeah. We can only see her ceiling right now, though. But
Peggy's here.
Yeah, put the camera in your face. We'd love to see you, sis.
She's camera shy like me.
Come on now.
You just saw me. I'm eating.
Oh, turn it on, Leslie. Hi, Lucia.
Hey, I don't know if y'all can see me or not,
Yes.
but I do have a really good and interesting question. First of all, I want to say to Dr. David, gosh, that was so informative. It answered questions that I had, but I do have one question, and I bet you would know. And my question is, so I suffer from a traumatic brain injury, and there's a lot of trauma affiliated and associated with the brain injury. But I've noticed that since I've taken the zeolite, several interesting things have happened. But the trauma, whenever I'm releasing it, does like when you release or you're healing from trauma in your brain, does it come out in some sort of an emotional, I don't know if it's depression, I don't know if it's just a fatigue, or if it's just like an anger, a burst of anger, and you don't know why, but does it release some sort of a toxic chemical in your brain that you refill all that? Because I can tell you that I have like secondary traumatic effects on my body whenever that happens. Like if it's just a memory, a traumatic event that I'm remembering, that I'm releasing, does it produce some sort of a chemical, a toxic chemical that affects your whole entire body?
Quite possibly. I remember when we used to. So basically, like I said, what zeolites do is that they attract. So if you've got toxins in your brain or your kidneys or wherever in the lungs or whatever it is, what the zeolites do is that they pull them out of those organs into the bloodstream, and then they trap them, and they get up. So that pulling, it kind of like they were probably all sequestered away. All these toxins were sequestered away, maybe in fat tissue, and just hidden away from. That's what your body does. It kind of like traps all that toxins in fat tissue and then kind of pushes it out of the way so it doesn't get a problem. But once you start throwing things into the mix and you start you start mixing things up, like with zeolites, what we know is that there's a hexamer reaction. Hexamers.
Yeah.
Hexamers. Yeah, that's what it is. In which so it releases toxins into the bloodstream, which obviously can toxins and other chemicals in the bloodstream which can affect the brain. So yeah, I mean, I used to see that with kids with autism because again, that's who my primary clients were. And sometimes they would get worse. They would get more hyperactive. They would get more aggressive for a few days, and then after a while, if they continued, now they had to continue. After a while, they would calm down and eventually improve tremendously. So that could be what's going on with you as well. You're going to be having some release of those things. So I would strongly recommend that you don't stop. Probably you should even increase it. Take a lot of water so you can dilute those toxins and get plenty of sleep. I hope Janice talked to you. Yeah, probably using the water thing.
Yeah, she got that in Dallas, and I wanted to say something about that. Dr. Wilson on one of his talks said that a child with severe, I can't remember what he called them, but nightmares, really bad nightmares. Parents gave him the sleep, and he never had another one after that. Pardon? Did you say something, Susan? Nope. Okay.
Oh, Peggy did.
Oh, Peggy did. Okay.
I forgot I wasn't muted.
Yeah. Okay.
He called them night terrors.
Night terrors. Yeah. Yeah. And he never had another one. When are you having them? During the day or at night?
Me?
At night.
At night. Okay. He also said that if you're having a problem, I used to have those years ago. And if you're having a problem, you can take it when you go to bed and then take it again during the night. I wouldn't take it just before I got up or wanted to get up, but I noticed, like David was talking, he knows he was here with me basically all winter, quite 2.5 months. And I go to bed at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning and don't get up till 7 and 8 sometimes. And now I go to bed at 10. I'm happy to go to bed at 10 and I sleep till probably 5 is the time, 6 if I push it or just lay and pray. But I'm ready to get up. So that might help you. Yeah.
Okay. Eric wants to add something.
Hey, I just remembered.
Hi,
I just
Doctor.
remember in chiropractic school,
Take it.
one professor said, "The solution to pollution is dilution." And I thought that
Yeah.
was just hydration, whatever. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
That is super. I like that.
Pollution is dilution. I love it.
Text
I'm going to steal that.
text that to me. I want to steal it too.
I'll give you credit. I'll give you credit for it, Eric. I'll give you credit for it just once. After that, I'll say it came out of me. My idea,
one, David.
Yeah, I like it. I really appreciate all that is being educated and shared on here by everyone, because it's helpful. You know, I feel like I'm not alone. I feel like sometimes just dealing with this, that it's never going to get better,
Oh,
but it
will.
seems like it always gets worse before it gets better.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I get to the point at times where I just don't want to be here. And
Yeah.
it's sad, but it's true. And y'all give me hope again.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You know, I used to about Eric, that what he just said. I used to tell my clients that if they spilt a flower pot on the sidewalk, would they go in and take a wet rag and wipe it up, or would they take the hose and rinse it off? And
Wow.
how do you want to get those toxic thoughts out of your mind? And I would tell them to drink lots of water, use lots of prayer, and that would
Yeah.
flush those things out. So Eric is right on that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mhm.
Jen.
You're
And
gonna
I
survive.
would say gratefulness and praise, add that in there. And I've written your name down, Lucia. I've not met you before, but I will be praying for you.
Great.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Likewise.
Thank you.
There's things on the horizon, and this is just a little bit. Are you taking the BioRes?
The BioRes?
Yeah, both sleep and thermal.
I don't take the sleep so much as I take the thermal.
You need
And oh, I need both. Okay.
Oh, definitely.
All
They
right.
go together. I've been sending out stuff. I hope you're getting it. That Dr. Wilson talks that he's done and stuff like that, because it's a 24-hour process your body goes through, and you have to use both of them, really.
Okay. All
So
right. I'm glad to know that.
really important, especially with what you're talking about going through emotionally. Hello there,
Yeah.
sister Peggy.
I don't know how I didn't put my picture on there. I don't know how that happened. I went without the picture.
Okay.
Okay, so
But I'm done eating.
I have a question about the BioRes. Some of these things that you talked about tonight, Dr. David, like I have addressed as many toxins as I can. So I clean cleanly, I eat cleanly. I have an air filter going, Berkey water. I mean, I do as much as I can. I still have a lot of issues and a lot of autoimmune issues. And not to get into any controversial things, I'm talking about the past, not just the past 2 years, but a lot of vaccine issues. And so I know I probably have the mercury and aluminum and all that stuff in my brain. And I have issues with remembering words, is how it started out. But it's just grown from there. I don't remember people. There's just a lot of things, or I don't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. My question is, will BioRes help this? I know it said it starts with your brain and goes, well, here I'm trying to remember. I know it's brain, heart, kidney, liver, immune system, I think is the way it goes. Am I understanding that correct? Is this something that is going to give me hope with this?
Do you have BioRes? Excuse me, David. Do you personally have the BioRes?
I do not,
Okay,
because
you
I
weren't.
wasn't at Impact, but I'm going to
Okay.
be ordering it. Yeah.
Okay.
Both of them.
David, if you don't mind, I'll just chime in here a little bit and then you can add to it. It is my understanding that it creates energy and brings a transmission of what's in that to starting at the brain all the way down to the toes, is what Steve told me the other day. And I told him, and I won't say this, that it's going to heal any of that autoimmune, but there's a lot of stuff that will help that. But what it's going to do is it's going to let your body have that energy going through your whole body, and that's how your body heals.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Now,
David.
one thing, if Dr. David will talk about this too, I react to B vitamins. And I react to a lot of the things in aloe vera. Like I can't take focus at all unless I really dilute it down. Otherwise, I'm reacting to that. A lot of the plant sugars, I'm reacting to that. So I'm trying to do the best I can. I just don't know anymore what else to do.
You're taking the solids. Okay,
do you react to the immune as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I take as much as I can afford per month. And actually, if I get a flare up of psoriatic arthritis, or not the psoriasis, I get that all over. If I have a flare up of that and I take immune, it will take it away. So I've been on it for nearly 5 years, and I've got enough built up that I can take a little bit extra and it takes care of the problem. I don't get sick, like getting bugs. And I've been all around COVID with my dad in the ER with it pushed all up against us. We never got COVID. So in that way, my immune system is good, but in other ways, it's not so good.
Are you on Limitless?
Well,
the limit? That's the key.
I can't afford everything. So the last couple of months, I'm just doing 2 Celebrate in the morning, 2 Celebrate at night, because I was told by somebody that 2 is like equal to 1 Limitless. And I've been all these years doing 1 Limitless in the morning, 1 in the evening.
When you can afford it, and pray about that, and God will supply it. Take at least 4 Limitless. I had a lady walk out of here the other day with a box of Limitless. She never used a product, never, and after 2 Limitless, when she got home, I told her to take 1, and 2 before she went to bed. She called the next morning, and her problem that she had a flare up of for over 3 weeks, and she was in acute discomfort. It went away completely. She came over and enrolled us with a $700 pack. Social business partner, and she is ecstatic, and she's coming. She just signed up, got 2 tickets, her husband and her, for Dallas for the next event. So, but be sure you let people know about what's going on now, and just key in on that, because that's going to bring the money you need for your products.
Yep.
Scientific focus customers. Yeah, and you're gonna have my sister Peggy, I know, is doing a lot. So, but this is David's call. He knows that the products work, and I really believe in him. And David has opened my eyes to a lot of stuff when he was here this winter, and it really has helped. But if you get them out there, you're going to have plenty of money. So for your own products.
Okay.
Awesome.
We're going to have to wrap up now.
Sure.
Any questions? You can always reach out to us. Well, what I've told Jan was that I will, maybe we should just get all the email addresses, because I understand some people have problems kind of like logging in and all that. So we will be sending you all emails every week. And then of course, if you have other people you want to be, who want to be on that email list. So we're sending emails every week, and then you can, and then you can contact us through that as well.
Right. Those on today, David, do you have their email by them registering?
To see what we're doing.
Because I don't have Susan's, and I don't have Emerson. There's several on here I don't have.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just send me the ones you have, and then just because I understand that a lot of people have had trouble with it back and forth. So I think the one thing that can help solve that problem is if all of you send in your emails, And then from our database, we'll be sending you reminders each week. But just know this, that every week this is going to be happening. And if not, we'll kind of like send you a notice to say it's not, we'll be missing it out. If you do want to have, and I know some people, I've mentioned this before, if you have issues that are long running, like Susan is talking about, it's not going to be solved on a call like this. It really isn't. I'm sorry to say. Got to work through, some things just have to be worked through. Might have to ask some questions, check some things out, and then kind of like provide some work and start small, see what the response is, and then build upon that and build upon that and build upon that to help you get the solution that you need. Not going to happen on a call like that. So I would encourage you, if you want to book a consultation, then we can help arrange that as well. Okay.
And by the way, David's landlady has got a very bad cold. And so I said, what did David tell you to take when he rented your trailer this winter? So Bobby.
Oh, Bobby has a bad cold. Oh,
very, very sick. So, and I was with her last night. So.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was sharing the opportunity with a gal this afternoon at the house, and I told her about what we did with the children. And I just want you to know that when I talked to her about your work with the sickle cell anemia, that she got really excited. And so I'm going to be anxious to get her on board, but I just want you to know that she was very excited about that.
Oh wow! Thank you. Thank you so much.
We all are. David and I became friends over that. God told me that you need to help this foundation. You need to work with David. And I said, oh Lord, do I have to? No. But we have been.
Jane?
Yes.
And I appreciate that, Jan. I appreciate that so much, Jan. Thanks for
Now, Doc, the recording of this tonight, how can I go back and hear this again?
So what we do is Eric, we would put it on our YouTube channel, and then we'll send the email.
Okay, cool. Great.
So Lucia, have you been getting emails from us with the
Yes,
recording?
I have.
Okay,
I have.
So Eric, you're gonna have to just register with your own email so we can send it to you directly.
Oh, okay, good deal. Will do.
All right.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We're gonna have to leave it here.
Yeah.
Thank you. And all you Minnesotans, I'm praying for you and all your snow, and I'm staying down here.
You can.
No,
You're just a big chicken, Jan.
That's right. I'm a wuss. When I saw your yard, I thought, no way. David said, no way.
Not gonna happen.
I'm
right,
even
take care.
every morning when I get up and I see new snow, I'm talking to God and I'm saying, please, God, turn the snow off.
You're
Enough
talking
is
loud enough.
You know?
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, good,
Yeah, have a
good
good
night,
night.
everyone, and go out and bless people and take care of yourselves. Lots of water. Right, Eric?
All right.
Okay,
All right.
good night, everyone.